गुरु चरण सरोज रज निज मन मुकुरु सुधारी बजना रघुबर बिमल जसु जोदायक फलचारी बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरौ पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेश विकार। जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीस तिय लोक उजागर रामदूत अतुलित बलधामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा।
May Shri Ram.
मैं
Shri Ram be with you.
May Prabhu Shri Ram and Hanuman ji be with you.
Okay. Thank you, Arjun.
Thank you, Arjun. Hi, everyone. I'm Saleha Singh, and welcome to Gupshup with Saleha. So that was Arjun singing the Hanuman Chalisa for you. And he has sung it for many years, and he knows it by heart. Meet the person who's made it possible and sung this devotional song to him from the time he was a little boy. His father, Rahul Agrawal. Welcome to the show, Rahul.
Thank you so much, Saleha. Thanks for having us.
Your pleasure. And before I ask the questions, I wanted to tell my viewers that Rahul is giving away a signed copy of the Hanuman Chalisa, and it's dependent on the best questions that my viewers asked. But to be part of this, you have to listen to the program from the beginning to the end. And Arjun will actually choose the winner and announce the winner at the end of the program.
Thank you.
Rahul, before we go on to Hanuman Chalisa, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, thanks, Saleha. Thanks for having us. So, as you rightly introduced, I'm Rahul. So, I'm an IT consultant by profession, and I've been working in this industry for almost 25 years or so. Last 20 years or so, I've been mostly out of India as well. And for the past 4.5 years, I'm in Australia. So that's my brief background. I've got in my family, my wife Nupur is there, and I've got 6 years old Arjun, and got a 1-year-old girl as well, Navya. That's about me.
Great. So I just wanted to ask you about Hanuman Chalisa. For many of us, including me, we may or may not know the story behind the Hanuman Chalisa. So can you please tell us the story?
So Arjun would probably want to leave right now, and then I can come back. Thanks a lot, Arjun. So yeah, thanks a lot. So right, as you know, Hanuman Chalisa was composed around 400 years back by Sant Tulsidas ji. So it was composed in a language called Awadhi, which is a local dialect of Hindi, which is spoken generally, in and around Ayodhya. So the whole motivation probably at that time must have been that at that time most of our scriptures and text was in Sanskrit. So it would have been difficult for common people to understand Sanskrit and even understand all the stories behind it. So that's where Tulsidas ji thought of writing Hanuman Chalisa and other texts as well, including Ramcharitmanas, in common man's language, which is in Awadhi, or a variation of Hindi. So Hanuman Chalisa is composed of, or it's made up of 40 lines, and that's where Chalisa means 40. Chalisa comes from, but actually there are 43 lines in Hanuman Chalisa. So there are 2 dohas at the beginning, followed by 3 chaupais and 1 at the end. So if I can describe a little bit more about Hanuman Chalisa. So in all of the text of Tulsidas ji, he generally starts with paying a lot of respect to his teachers, his guru. And that's what he has done with the Hanuman Chalisa. So first 2 doha are in respect to Prabhu Shri Ram, his guru, and Hanuman ji, followed by approximately 8 to 10 lines or chaupais, where he talks about Hanuman ji himself. What was his name? What are the different names by which he's called? Who are his parents? Whom did he incarnate from? Then there are next 10 lines where he generally talks about the different things that he had done. For example, he crossed over, flew over the ocean, went to Lanka in search of Mata Sita.
Yep.
Then he went to Himalayas to get Sanjeevani Booty. He helped Prabhu Shri Ram in war during the Lanka as well. And followed by the next 20 lines are generally where Tulsidas ji invokes the different benefits that we can get by singing Hanuman Chalisa. And then again, there are benefits which are relevant in this time, and then there are benefits which can go for eternity as well. So for example, there are lines like Durgam kaaj jagat ke jete, sugam anugrah tumre dete. So, for example, if we pray to Hanuman Chalisa, things become a little easier for us as well. At the same time, he also talks about tumre bhajan Ram ko paave, janam janam ke dukh bisrave. So, for eternity, I mean, you get the benefits out of singing Hanuman Chalisa. And if you allow me, I mean, I like to read through
Yes,
the
of
first
course.
line, because that's really very special about Tulsi Das ji. The way, I mean, he's got a lot of humility in himself. So Tulsi Das ji, as a poet, he's also called Mahakavi. So he's one of the greatest Hindi poets that we have ever had. But maybe unlike a lot of Western poets, for example, Shakespeare or Milton Woodworth, he doesn't use very difficult language. I mean, his whole motivation or his whole text was about making things simple for everyone. And in all his texts, it's a lot about devotion. उनकी भक्ति हर लाइन में, हर उनकी कृति में झलकती है. So उसी तरह से अगर आप रामचरितमानस पढ़ो, हनुमान चालीसा पढ़ो, तो वो सबसे पहले अपने गुरु को रेस्पेक्ट करते हैं. तो पहली लाइन है, श्री गुरु चरण सरोज रज, निज मन मुकुरु सुधारी, बरनऊ रघुबर बिमल जसु, जो दायक फल चारी. So with the dust of lotus feet of my teacher, or saying by touching the feet of my guru, my teacher, I clean the mirror of my mind, and then I narrate the glorious story of Raghuvar, Prabhu Shri Ram, who gives the 4 fruits of life. So in the first doha here, Tulsidas ji pays respect to his guru by touching his feet. Tulsidas ji requests the blessings of his teacher so that he can clean his mind and then focus on writing the glories of Shri Ram and Hanuman ji. And over here, I mean, though the language is very simple, there are a lot of poetic mastery and deep meaning about our culture and history hidden among them as well. So when he says Jo Dayak Falchari, so one may ask, what are this Falchar? What are these 4 fruits? So these 4 fruits are called Dharm, Arth, Kam, and Moksha. Now, some of these things are very difficult to translate in English as well, but then they can be loosely translated as well, called values, prosperity, pleasure, and liberation. And all 4 of them, as per our Hindu scripture, are together called Purusharth. That means the meaning of or the objective of this life as well. So that's where, is the poetic mastery of Tulsidas ji. Again, I mean, if I may take some time more to talk a little bit about Tulsidas ji was, I mean, we all know that he has also written Ramcharitmanas, which is really, really famous. And some believe that he was an incarnation of Valmiki ji. So वो Valmiki ji की भी अवतार बोलते हैं उनको. तो story ऐसी है, the story goes like that after the Lanka war was over, everybody came back to Ayodhya, and after things settled down, so he chose to go to Himalaya and spent his life time there, paying devotion to Prabhu Shri Ram. And then while he was residing in the Himalayas, he wrote the story of Prabhu Shri Ram and all the Lanka war on the stones using his nails. And he was the best person because he was there in person during all the difficult or most important times as well. So the word of Hanumanji writing his story of Prabhu Shri Ram, must have gone through. And then Valmiki ji came to know about it. So he went to Himalayas to see Hanumanji, and then he expressed his desire to look at this rocks and read about Hanumanji's version of Prabhu Shri Ram's story. So he अपने वाल्मीकि जी को अपने कंधे पर बैठाया, put him on his shoulder and flew to a place and put him somewhere there where he could read all his creation. Valmiki ji was so impressed that he was really overwhelmed. He could he had tears in his eyes. So Hanumanji wondered, I mean, why did you not like it? Is there something wrong? He said that this is so good, this is so special. If anybody reads this, they would not even want to read my version at all. Hanumanji did not blink an eye at that point, and immediately what he did was he took the rocks, went to the ocean, and drowned everything there. And when Valmiki asked, he said that no, I want your Ramayana or your creation to be read by everyone. So Valmiki ji was so impressed by him. He said that in future I would want to reincarnate for you and then write the glories of Shri Ram in common man's language. And I'm sure that would be more popular than any of my creation as well. And this is what it is. When we today read any of the version of Ramayana, it's generally we refer to Tulsidas ji's Ramcharitmanas. And in fact, the TV serial that was broadcasted around 80s by Ramanand Sagar is mainly based on Tulsidas ji's Ramayana. So that's what is glory of Tulsidas ji and his poetic mastery as well.
Thank you. Rahul, you translated the Hanuman Chalisa into English. What was your inspiration?
Right. So, as far as I can remember, I have been, singing or reading Hanuman Chalisa when I was probably at the age of around 10. When I was 10, I mean, the motivation was among my brothers and cousins, as in who can remember the maximum lines of Hanuman Chalisa. That's where it all started. But then it's so good. I mean, it struck with me forever. And I mean, we all know that Hanuman Chalisa is probably the most popular bhajans or, the text that we have. And probably millions of Hindus worldwide do read or recite Hanuman Chalisa every day, including me and probably a lot of viewers as well. So, as I mentioned earlier, I've been outside India for some time, and Arjun has also been, growing all around. So, I wanted him to understand and him to get a part of our culture, our history as well. Take pride from where we come from. I mean, yes, for different reasons, we are living outside of India, but then I wanted him to have that connection as well. So what I normally do is I've been reading a lot of stories about Ramayana, Mahabharata, and other stories from India to Arjun as well, and I tried to teach him to read and write Hindi as well. So that's where I thought that maybe if I pick one line of Hanuman Chalisa every day, try and narrate to him, that would be really interesting for him. But when we started, so I mean, to be honest, when I started, even I did not knew most of the meanings of Hanuman Chalisa. Probably, I mean, I knew only 20 to 30%, let's just say. So that's where I kept referring to internet. I mean, trying to ask to some of my elders about some of this line, because Arjun is a very inquisitive child. I mean, he asked a lot of questions as well. So that's where I had to be prepared for him to answer any question and be able to answer. So that's where I started, reading one line and explaining to him. But then we thought that why not? I mean, make it a little bit more interesting, because as you know, with kids today, if you can't make it interesting for them, they just lose the interest very quickly.
Absolutely, yes.
So what I did was I started writing one line of Hanuman Chalisa on a whiteboard and took each word and tried to translate that into English for him. And then below, I used to write the meaning of that particular line for him. And he would try to relate that in his notebook as well. So that's where it all started. So initially, I thought that, this looks good. Why not, just take some pictures of it and keep it for my memory, or at the most, share with some of my friends or family if they want to do the same with their kids as well. When it started, I mean, I did share with some of my friends. They liked the idea. So what I did was I started putting this into a digital form, because whiteboard pictures are good, but we make it better. So that was the whole motivation. And that point of time, we never have this thought of writing a book, because it was all about only trying to make Arjun understand or explain or make it interesting for him. But then once we had the digital copy ready, I thought that why not put one or two anecdotes or stories or deep meanings behind them for each line as well. So it started becoming more and more interesting, and when I shared with some of my friends and family, they really liked that idea. So one thing led to another. Then we thought, I mean, yeah, it's been so good, why not try and publish it as a book? And I had no idea of book publishing as well, but I think the technology today has made it so simple, and because you could do self-publishing as well, you don't have to go to publish to have a book published for you. So that's where we were actually able to publish the book as well, and it's now available on Amazon for everyone.
We'll get I'll put the website when I share your story. So you've told us why it is important for you that Arjun know the Hanuman Chalisa, and what are his favorite stories, or should I ask that question when he returns?
Now, you can definitely ask him as well. But when we talk about Arjun, so he goes to a Christian college over here. So the way at least we are trying to bring him up is to respect all the religions in the world. I mean, but at the same time, though he's listening to the stories of Christ and Moses in his school, but we wanted him to understand and learn our stories as well, because there should be a both connect as well, because without that he would lose his connect with India as well. So what I do is, as I said, I mean, I keep reading him a lot of stories about Ramayana, Mahabharata, and he's very impressed with Hanumanji as well. I keep reading him stories about Dashavatar as well. So these days, we've been trying to explore a lot more about each incarnation of Lord Vishnu. So we read in details about each of the story. And he's got lots of favorite stories about Hanumanji as well, because Hanumanji, I mean, if you think about it, Hanumanji is an actual superhero. I mean, he can do things.
I love him. Yes, I just love him.
Does, like, for example, Spider-Man, Batman, whatever they do, Hanumanji does it as well. So yes, we want him to understand about or read stories about Superman and Spider-Man, but at the same time, if we can narrate to him stories about Hanumanji as well, that's even more interesting. And probably there is some relation to the Indian text about it as well. So all of that makes it so interesting for him that he's so much into it now that he keeps singing all the time. He keeps asking me questions about it all the time, and I have to be ready for him as well.
Okay, thank you. So is this why you're giving away a free book for all our viewers who are watching? One free book to the best questions, and the questions have started coming in. So
Absolutely.
I will read it out. So do you want me to read it or?
Oh, no, I can read it. So,
Yes.
Arjun is so blessed and talented. I don't know about it. I mean, this is a very big word, but probably every child is blessed and talented. I mean, and it's just that I think, I mean, in terms of probably the way we try to bring in, and I tell this to a lot of my friends as well. Somehow, I feel that we are a generation who are very different in our own way, because we are probably the generation who focuses a lot of time with our kids as well. I mean,
Absolutely.
and
Yes.
not just me. I mean, if I talk to any of my friend, all of do the same thing. I mean, probably generation before us, I mean, for them, kids were important, but we generally grew up in a joint family with people around, and there were always somebody to take care of you. But then we are now staying on our own, and that's where we have given a lot of importance on their upbringing or education, and we spent a lot of time. So that's the same with Arjun as well. And I always feel that it's not the time spent with anyone, it's the quality time spent with your kids that makes it more important.
Another question which is right there. How often? Yes.
Yeah, so I am a Hanuman Bhakt, so I do recite every day, and I listen to different versions of Hanumanji. There's so many beautiful renditions of Hanumanji. There is one by Pandit Jashraj. There is always the very famous Gulshan Kumar's Hanuman Chalisa. There's these days there's one from Ankit Banka as well. So very beautiful one. So I listen to Hanuman Chalisa in my car, in the morning when I'm getting ready for my work. But I do try to recite every day once at least.
So how do you relate the Hanuman Chalisa to modern day life, especially to children?
Right. I mean, I think this ties to probably what we were discussing a little earlier, that children needs heroes. I mean, all children needs heroes. So they need the stories of heroes around them. So if we can bring the virtues of Hanumanji to kids through the story, nothing like it. So because when we talk about Hanumanji, generally, I mean, we always say that he's got, lots of strength and power. He flew over the mountain. I mean, he could grow up in size. He burned Lanka. But at the same time, like we were saying earlier, he was the biggest devotee of Prabhu Shri Ram. He was a completely selfless person. At the same time, he was very knowledgeable. Some people say that he had, knowledge of all four Vedas as well. And he was very humble as well. So that's where the first line of the Hanuman Chalisa says that Jai Hanuman Gyan Gun Sagar. So which says that he's the ocean of knowledge and wisdom. So if you can read Hanuman Chalisa, pick stories from there, so it would relate a lot to kids, because it talks about not just strength, it talks about selfless devotion, it talks about humility, and there are some very beautiful lines in Hanuman Chalisa as well, which kids can really relate to. I mean, there's one line which says that Kumati Nivar Sumati Ke Sangi, so which means that try to find good company and stay away from bad company. I mean, what better message that we can have?
We teach our children that all the time. Yes,
exactly, isn't it? And then there is one line which says that Sankat te Hanuman chudave, man kram bachan dhyan jo lave. And I find this really, really, relevant and interesting for anyone, because when we say man kram vachan dhyan, it means mind, speech, action, and focus. I mean, it's not just one thing. You need to combination of all such things. So there's so many beautiful lines, not just from Hanuman Chalisa. I mean, even if you pick stories from Ramayana as well. I mean, we all can learn the ideals of Prabhu Shri Ram. I mean, he's called the Purushottam, or the Maryada Purushottam, the ultimate human being. So there's lots and lots of things to learn, especially for children. And I mean, probably if I can, I mean, I would like to add one more line over here, which can be really relevant in today's time, which says, one of the lines says that, Nase rog hare sab peeda, japat nirantar Hanumat Veera. So in today's time, when the whole world is, struggling with coronavirus, what better line can this? I mean, nobody says that if you sing Hanuman Chalisa, coronavirus would go away, but everybody recognize the power of mind and will as well. So if you sing anything with devotion, if you have got a lot of willpower, it will give you additional strength to fight as well. That's really, really important.
Thank you. So you told me that you've been interested in Indian history and you read a lot about it. Some people say the Hanuman Chalisa is a myth. It is a part of mythology. What is your take on this?
It's a very good question, Saleha, and I'm really thankful that you asked this question. And it's a lot of ignorance from all of us, and even I am party to that, because unless we read, we don't know about it as well. So the problem is, generally, whenever we talk about Indian history, we always use the word as mythology. But whenever we talk about the history of India, the correct word or the phrase should be itihas. Now, the challenge is some of these things from Sanskrit are non-translatable in English as well, because when you pick one word and try to find an easy translation in English, that's where we make a mistake. Because if you talk about history, so when we talk about history, it generally means history, or it has to have some evidence to date it as well. I mean, that's the whole premise behind history. When we talk mythology, I mean, the first word itself is myth. So when we say myth, Game of Thrones was myth, Lord of Rings was myth, but can we say Ramayana or Mahabharata was myth? A lot of people can say, yes, it's a myth, but if you actually read about it, and these days, there are very good evidences around, astronomy, archaeological, geological, which may find it difficult to prove whether some of these characters existed or not. But then there are so accurate description around the geography of India, and it has got mention of specific places all around India. How is it possible that a text which dates so many time back has such accurate description of the history? So again, it is not mythology as well. Probably I struggled with it and I tried to find the right word. Sometimes I started using legend, but legend is what it's just a hearsay. Kisi ne bola, kisi ne suna, aur usse legend ban gaya. Again, it is not like that. So when we say itihas, generally what it means from the Indian scriptures perspective is it is stories narrated with a lot of moral values or lessons behind it as well. So yes, sometimes it may be very hard to prove some of these things, but the whole idea is not to prove any of these things. It's just the lesson or what are the takeaways for all of us. So if you think about it, I mean, if you read about Ramayana, it really doesn't matter whether Ram existed or not, because the motive is or not to prove whether he existed, but it is to prove what is it that we can learn from his story? What is it that we can take from Ramayana? What are the ideas that we can learn from Prabhu Shri Ram or Hanumanji or other characters as well? Similarly for Mahabharata as well. And probably very quickly, when we talk about Indian history or any of these scriptures, we generally refer as two words over there. One is called Shruti, the other is called Smriti, and there is a very deep meaning behind it. So Shruti refers to all the four Vedas that we have. And those are, scriptures or texts that our Rishi Munis had heard from God. I mean, it's believed that they had heard from God, but it may have come from their contemplation as well. So those are not to be modified at all. It has to be read and followed exactly as it is. But then when we say Smriti, it's all about what people had remembered and how it has been passed on as well. And Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Purans are part of our Smritis. And that is where, if you think about it, there are multiple versions of Ramayana available all around India, and nobody has a problem with that. I mean, in one of the Tulsidas Ji's Ramayana, there is this concept of Lakshman, draws the line of Lakshman Rekha, whereas that is not there in Valmiki's Ramayana, and nobody objects to it as well. So this is where it makes it so interesting. The idea is not to prove when any of these was there or not, or whether it is mythology or not, but it is all about what is it that we can learn. But if we still come about whether it is myth or not, these days a lot of research is being done all around the world about some of those major events that may have happened, or is also referred to in our text, in other texts as well. Like, for example, I mean, if you talk about the Great Flood story, it's there in a lot of other cultures as well. It's not just in our Dashavatar, where we say that Matsya Avatar happened and there was a huge flood. There's a story of Noah's Ark as well in Christianity as well.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
So if you read about it, around 12,000 years back, there was a lot of rocks from a passing by comet crashed on the earth, and there was this artificial period of around maybe 1,000 years or so, where there was because of these rocks crashing on the earth, there was a layer of dust on Earth's atmosphere, and the ice age increased, and it was a period of a very long time of the ice. And then once the dust started subsided, the temperature started warming up, and then the sea levels rose. So it is now, I mean, there is good evidence to say around 12,000 years back, the sea level rose, and it must have flooded a lot of parts of the world. And the map of the world that we saw is after that particular time as well. So we know that some of these things happened, and there are a lot of evidences around geography, astronomy. Ramayana and Mahabharata has such accurate description of this astronomical position around that time. It is so hard to refute that. So, I mean, maybe summarizing it, it may be difficult to prove that some of these characters existed, but I don't believe it's myth, and it is all about one's faith and Shraddha.
Absolutely.
So yeah, viewers can draw their own conclusion from there.
Yes. Hey guys, we're still waiting for some questions for Rahul. You may never get this opportunity and a free copy. So, okay. I have a question for you now. Thank you, Vinita.
Right. Yeah. Hanumanji is definitely our superhero. So whenever we say superhero, the first name should also come about always Hanuman. Superman, Batman, Hanuman.
Yes, that's a good way of looking at it. Yes. What can you tell us about the Indus Valley civilizations from your reading of all the history that you've done?
Right. That's a very, very interesting topic that you have brought up. And it's so even I did not knew anything about it probably around 2 years back, but that's where when I got my interest in reading about Indian history, I started, exploring some of these things. And these days, there are a lot of very good writers who have written good books around it as well. So very interestingly, Sailehaji, if you notice that probably around 100 years back when Britishers ruled India, our concept or our dateline of history was probably only around 600 BCE when Gautam Buddha was born, or probably around 300 BCE when Chandragupta Maurya was there. Nobody knew our history before that. I mean, yes, there were some Vedas and text and Ramayana and Mahabharata, but nobody could point any evidence around any of those things as well. So that was only as far back as our history grew. So when Britishers were there in India, so in order to expand their empire and expand their trade, they started building a train line, and one of the train line that was being built was from Lahore to Multan. And when you bring tracks, you need ballast. I mean, you need solid grounds, because that's where trains can pass on. So to have the ballast, you need very good bricks as well. So that's where somewhere around Pakistan, I mean, there's a village called Harappa. So they accidentally chanced upon a site where there were a lot of bricks. So they used those bricks in laying down, the tracks. I mean, imagine probably 10, 12,000 histories, bricks being used for the railway track. But then, I mean, so be it. That's where some of the archaeologists from British Empire, they went around and they started looking for it. They asked people, and some of the people said that these bricks have always been there, and then but initially they just discarded it. They thought that it's a more modern phenomena, probably 200-300 years back only. So it was discarded, but then probably another 10 to 20 years later on, archaeologists came and then visited those sites, and one of those sites was discovered as Mohenjo-daro, which means mound of the dead. So there was this mound, and that's where they started excavating, and they found, underneath there were huge cities built up. I mean, properly laid down, with proper town planning, roads, drainage system, and everything. And when people started dating them, they were so surprised. All of a sudden, our Indian history from 600 years, or maybe whatever you may call it that time, immediately jumped back 2,000 years back. And that's where the partition of India happened as well. So at that time, there were probably around 40 sites or so. Around 38 of those sites went to Pakistan and only 2 were left with India. So our archaeologists were really, really sad that this rich piece of history has gone to the other part, and we are left with only 2. But then with more research and more findings these days, there are close to 4,000 Sindhu Saraswati or Indus Valley sites all across India, generally around Gujarat and other parts, where it is believed that the Saraswati River flew, and that's where most of these settlements were there. So imagine, this rich history, and it was all discovered accidentally. So that's what tells about our history as well. And back, And one thing people generally, ask that why it has been unnoticed for so long. So the thing about Indian history, or all these sites were unlike probably the Giza pyramid and other sites. There were no towering sites over there. They were generally, people were so down to earth, laid down, and very simple people. Where they did not talk so much about themselves. Even on these sites, there were very few, or probably next to nothing, mention around any wars happening, any people killing, or having palaces, huge palaces for the king. They were generally people who probably may have had some kind of a confederation or democracy, like we have in the modern period. And that's where it was all about thinking about people and laying down proper town structures. And sometimes it amazes me as well that we may at times call that पुराने लोगों के पास जानकारी नहीं थी, technology नहीं थी.
But that's not true.
These cities, I mean, most of the town planning, there's so much of slums.
Yes.
There's no town planning. There's no water harvesting. But those people, 2, 3, 4,000, 5,000 years back, they did all of that. So
Yep.
that's the rich piece of history that we live with, and we should all be really very, very proud of that.
I agree. I did history as my honors subject for my graduation.
So you
And
may
there
know a lot more.
Yeah, well, I wanted to work in a museum in Calcutta, at the Calcutta Museum. Well,
Oh, great.
life had different things. I did something so different from history. Look what I'm doing now. Why do you think India's oldest is one of the oldest surviving cultures? Why do you think it survived so long?
I think, again, probably it dates back to some of the things that I just described. Probably it's our value system that has really, really, has persisted. Because when we talk about Indian civilization, there was no concept of any religion to start with. Even if we talk about the religion today, we call it Sanatan Dharma. So it's an eternal Dharma. So everything started with the practice of praying to nature, taking care of everything that's around us, paying respect. In modern day, we may have modern manifestations of different God, but if we think about it, everything still gets back to the things that's around us, the value system that we have. And probably that is one of the very key important thing for which our civilization has survived, whereas any of the other parallel civilization for that time did not survive. And that's probably one of the very key thing. And one additional thing is, the as per our Hinduism or Sanatan Dharma, we've been told that to respect everyone. Even within Sanatan Dharma or Hinduism, and there are different thoughts, different lines of thoughts. You can be an atheist and still be an Hindu as well. You can follow anything, and that's what probably allows us to have be flexible and be respectful for everything. And that has probably passed on between multiple generations and multiple cultures in India. And then that's where our culture, our history has been so rich, and we've been able to survive. That's my take. And again, I'm probably not an expert. I'm more of a reader, but that's what is my key takeaway from everything that I've read.
Okay, thank you. I have another question from Megha. I'll show that to you. Thank you, Megha.
I want my son and nephew to be more spiritual. What tips can you give me?
Can you give me?
Again, probably a very difficult question for somebody.
Read the Hanuman Chalisa.
Exactly. Start with something like that. Again, when we say spiritual, again, it again depends on each child. What is the bent of mind that he has? Some kids may be, very impressionable, where you read a story, he immediately takes it, and others may ask questions or maybe, question things as well. But then it's really, really good and important that you read a lot of stories about India, and especially when you're talking about your own culture, have a lot of pride about it. Always say things or express things with a lot of pride, and read stories from Ramayana, Mahabharata, Indian history. When there are a lot of stories about read stories about Bhagat Singh, Mahatma Gandhi. Anything. That would give them a lot of good connection with India, and once they have a connect with India, spirituality will automatically come along. And the second thing is, whichever language that you speak, whichever part of India that you come from, try and speak to your kids in that language as well. Don't just speak only in English. That's really, really important. Whichever language, doesn't matter. Hindi, English, Bangla, Marathi, Telugu, but speak your kids in your own language.
I agree. Absolutely. I speak to my children only in Bengali, and they only reply in English. That unfortunately is what happens. But yes, I do. That's all for the questions today, Rahul. I will give you a couple of minutes to choose the winners. Do you remember the questions? Do you want me to show it to them, show it to again? And Arjun, if he could come back and choose a winner, do you want me to show you the questions?
Yes, I would really appreciate if you can
So
flash.
you've got Megha's question.
And sorry, I mean, maybe, while we were discussing, I just forgot something. So maybe, can I have?
Yes, absolutely.
So, right. So for everybody in viewers, so this is the book Hanuman Chalisa for Kids. This is available on Amazon worldwide. You can go to Amazon, search for this keyword Hanuman Chalisa for Kids, and you'll find this book. And what we have tried to do is to make this book, really interesting for kids in a very visual and colorful manner. So if I can, open one of the pages, what we've tried to do is, with each of the lines, I mean, you've got these lines in here in Hindi, and then they have been explained. I mean, each line is translated into English, what they exactly mean. And then again, I mean, there is English transliteration, and then there are English, translation for each of the line. Along with that, there are very interesting stories about each line. I mean, so that makes it really good for or interesting for kids. And towards the end, we've got some very good stories about Hanumanji and Ramayana in general as well. So yes, I mean, do look for this book. Share with your friends. I mean, try and find it. Try and read it to your kids. A lot of I mean, I've been getting a lot of good feedback from a lot of my readers as well. They say that most of the people are reading one line every day to their kids, and some of them have picked up a couple of lines from Hanuman Chalisa. So yeah, I mean, yeah, do look for it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I should get a copy
Yes.
and start reading it. I will show you the comments again, Rahul, for Arjun to choose the winner or to Arjun. Just a moment.
I'm not sure where Arjun is.
Okay, Sonika's was the first one.
Yes.
Then we have Vikas, who wanted to know how often do you recite at home.
Right.
Vinita said, Hanuman as a superhero, kids will love to read and learn.
Yes.
And then Megha wants her son and nephew to be a bit more spiritual and wants to know what tips you can give. Do you want a few minutes to choose the winner while...
No, I think I know, and I don't know where Arjun is, so I'll go ahead and announce it myself.
All right.
So I do like Megha's question a lot because it's got a lot of, deep meaning behind it. I mean, you definitely want to improve something and share with your kids. So yes, we'll be very happy to share this book with you, Megha, and I hope you enjoy this book. Oh, Arjun is here. Come on, Arjun.
Arjun's here.
Arjun is here. So you can say thank you, Megha, and yeah, she's our winner.
Thank you, Megha.
Megha, if you're listening, can you please get in touch with me at the email address that is now flashing on your screen, which is info@iconmedia.net.au, and I'll be in touch with you. Thanks, Megha, and congratulations. Arjun.
Congratulations, Megha.
What do you like about the Hanuman Chalisa?
I like it about it because it's not just like what benefits you get, but describing.
So can you relate some of the stories from there, Arjun, if you remember? You were talking about how Hanuman ji went to get Sanjeevani Booty.
Well, how Hanumanji was very powerful, like getting Sanjeevani Booty and all, but at the same time, he was very humble, so we can learn from him.
Yes.
Good.
So that's a lot of humility we learned from Hanumanji, yes.
Absolutely. Arjun, thank you so much for coming and reciting and singing the song for us. It was really nice. So Rahul, thank you so much. I will be in touch with you once I get in touch with...
yes, if you don't mind, can we end with a couple of lines from Hanuman together?
Yes, absolutely. Right.
So, जो सत बार पाठ कर कोई छूट ही बंदी महासुख होई, जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा सिद्धि साखी गौरी सा, तुलसीदास सदा हरि तेरा, जय नाथ हृदय मह डेरा, पवन तनय संकट हरन, मंगल मूर्ति रूप, राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसहु सुरभूप, सियावर रामचंद्र की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय. Thank you so much, Saleha.
Thank
Thanks
you for coming.
to us.
Thank
Yes.
you so much. And thank you to all my viewers for watching. We have one more Gupshup next week before we take a few weeks off to get you better stories. And I hope you like it. And if you would like to participate at our future programs, please get in touch with us at the email below. And we'll put up the form in the next couple of days. In the meantime, stay well, stay safe. Good night.